Beneath the shimmering surface of modern spirituality, ancient traditions whisper secrets that hold immense power. Imagine walking into your kitchen, opening the freezer and finding something far more profound than frozen food. There, among the frost-covered shelves, sits a humble container of salt. But this is not just any ordinary kitchen staple. It's a shield, a potent protector against forces unseen, against malevolence, witchcraft, and energies that seek to disrupt the harmony in your life. For centuries, spiritual seekers, mystics, and practitioners of esoteric knowledge have known the power of salt, but perhaps none more so than in the teachings of Buddhism. What if this ordinary substance, combined with the simplicity of freezing, could be your strongest defense against the dark energies swirling around you? In the Buddhist tradition, salt is more than just a mineral. It's a symbol, a spiritual tool, and a beacon of protection. The practice of using salt in the freezer is part of a broader tapestry of wisdom, woven through centuries of sacred teachings. This is not superstition. It's a deeply symbolic act, grounded in spiritual principles, and aimed at balancing the energies that surround you. In this long and fascinating journey, we'll explore the profound meanings behind salt, the way Buddhists have used it for centuries, and how combining it with the cold, transformative environment of the freezer creates a method that not only blocks evil, but also purifies and sanctifies. So prepare yourself, for we are about to embark on an extraordinary journey into the depths of spiritual protection, energy balance, and ancient wisdom. Section 1. Salt is a symbol of purity and protection in Buddhism. Salt, such a simple, everyday substance. It's found on every dining table, in every kitchen, and in every culture. But in the spiritual realm, salt is far from mundane. In Buddhism, salt has been revered for centuries as a powerful protector against negative energies. To understand why salt is so potent in the freezer method, we must first explore its spiritual significance. Salt's primary symbolism is that of purification. This association is not unique to Buddhism. It is present in many spiritual traditions around the world. Salt is a preservative, which means it prevents decay. In spiritual terms, it is believed to preserve the purity of the soul and the integrity of one's energy. This preservation quality is why salt is often used in rituals to cleanse and sanctify. It keeps evil forces at bay by creating a boundary between the spiritual seeker and negative entities. In Buddhism, salt's purifying properties extend to the practice of repelling evil spirits. There are countless stories in Buddhist folklore of monks and lay practitioners using salt to protect themselves from malevolent forces, from angry ghosts to malicious witches. It is said that just as salt draws out the moisture from food to preserve it, so too does it draw out impurities from the spiritual environment. The connection between salt and protection is so strong that it has been used in sacred spaces, such as temples, to ensure that the environment remains pure and free from negative influences. Salt is sometimes sprinkled in doorways or around the perimeter of a home to create a protective barrier. But what happens when we take salt and place it in the freezer? This is where the method takes on an even deeper level of significance. The freezer symbolizes the realm of stillness and transformation. Coldness in spiritual practice can represent the slowing down of energy, the cessation of chaotic vibrations, and the freezing of harmful intentions. When salt is placed in the freezer, it acts not just as a protector but as a stopper of harmful forces. The freezing process metaphorically halts the movement of negative energies, preventing them from penetrating your life. Moreover, salt's crystalline structure resonates with the idea of order and stability in the universe. Crystals in many traditions, including Buddhism, are believed to hold the memory of the earth, and their geometric patterns symbolize harmony. In this sense, salt, with its geometric crystalline form, creates a pattern of protection that aligns with the higher order of the universe. The salt in the freezer becomes a focal point of energy, freezing malevolent forces in their tracks while simultaneously reinforcing your personal spiritual shield. The freezer, as a spiritual tool, stillness, transformation, and protection. Why the freezer? At first glance, placing salt in a freezer might seem peculiar. Why not just leave it in a sacred space or sprinkle it around the house? To answer this, we need to delve deeper into the spiritual meaning behind coldness and stillness in Buddhism and other spiritual traditions. The freezer, much like the ancient meditative caves used by monks and hermits, is a space of stillness. It is a place where energy is suspended, a realm where time seems to stand still. In Buddhism, one of the core teachings is the cessation of suffering, and this often involves the cessation of attachments and harmful desires. Coldness, in a symbolic sense, represents this cessation. In meditation practices, stillness is a key goal. Stillness of the mind, stillness of the body, and ultimately stillness of the soul. When the external world is chaotic, the freezer represents a sacred space where energies slow down, where nothing moves except the divine currents of protection. The act of placing salt in the freezer is an external manifestation of this stillness. Just as we strive for inner calm through meditation, the salt in the freezer embodies a state of energetic stasis. Negative energies, chaotic forces, and harmful vibrations cannot thrive in such an environment. The cold freezes their movement, rendering them inert. This is why the freezer is such a powerful spiritual tool in conjunction with salt. It stops the evil in its tracks, metaphorically suspending it in a block of ice. But the freezer is more than just a place of suspension. It is also a place of transformation. Just as heat transforms food through cooking, cold transforms through preservation. In this sense, the freezer doesn't just halt negative energies, it transforms them. It preserves the purity of the salt, ensuring that it can continue to protect without being overwhelmed by malevolent forces. There is also a deeply symbolic reason for using the freezer. In many spiritual traditions, evil is often associated with heat and chaos. Think of the imagery of hell, with its burning fires and scorching heat. Coldness, on the other hand, is associated with purity, clarity, and serenity. By placing salt in the freezer, you are invoking these qualities, calling upon the forces of stillness and purity to guard against the fiery chaos of evil. The freezer then becomes a sacred space, a modern-day altar where protection is maintained through the balance of cold and salt. It is an act of taking control of your environment, creating a shield in a world filled with unseen dangers. The salt in the freezer not only blocks evil but also transforms it into something inert and harmless, just as Buddhist teachings transform the chaotic mind into one of peace and enlightenment. The Buddhist connection, salt, karma, and energy. To fully appreciate the salt in the freezer method and its profound symbolism in Buddhism, we need to dive deeper into the spiritual concepts of karma and energy. These elements are central to Buddhist teachings and provide a more comprehensive understanding of why salt is so crucial in blocking evil and witchcraft. In Buddhism, karma is understood as the law of cause and effect. Every action, thought, and intention generates energy that will ultimately come back to the individual, influencing their future experiences. Karma is not simply about good or bad deeds. It's about the energy you cultivate and release into the universe. The salt in the freezer method works as an energetic barrier, protecting the individual from external negative karma while reinforcing their positive intentions. Salt as a conduit for energy. Salt, as a mineral, has been revered in spiritual practices for its ability to conduct and store energy. Its molecular structure, with ionic bonds, makes it a perfect conduit for energy, both physical and metaphysical. This is why salt has been used in countless rituals for purification, protection, and even in the consecration of sacred objects. In Buddhism, salt is not just seen as a mundane substance, but as a medium through which energy flows and is transformed. When negative energy, such as malevolent intentions, harmful spells, or witchcraft, is directed at someone, it can disrupt the natural flow of positive karma. This is where salt comes in. The idea is that salt, due to its energetic properties, can absorb these negative forces, neutralizing their impact before they reach the individual. In essence, it serves as a spiritual filter, allowing only positive, harmonious energies to pass through. Now, when you place this salt in the freezer, it adds another layer of protection. The freezer's cold temperature symbolizes the slowing down of all energies, both good and bad. When combined with salt's ability to absorb and purify, the freezing process halts the negative energy's progress, neutralizing its impact even more effectively. The cold immobilizes the malevolent forces, making them inert and preventing them from further influencing your life. Furthermore, the salt in the freezer doesn't just block external negative energy. It also creates a barrier against your own karmic vulnerabilities. In Buddhist teachings, each individual carries karmic imprints, seeds of past actions that may bloom into future experiences. Some of these imprints are positive, leading to moments of joy and peace, while others are negative, leading to suffering. By using salt in the freezer, practitioners aim to halt the manifestation of harmful karmic imprints, slowing their progress and giving the individual time to cleanse and transform their energy. The symbolism of freezing karma. The concept of freezing karma is particularly intriguing within the context of Buddhism. In traditional Buddhist teachings, karma is often viewed as a cycle of cause and effect that perpetuates samsara, the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. To break free from this cycle, one must achieve enlightenment by purifying their mind and actions, thereby neutralizing karma. The freezer in this method serves as a metaphor for suspending karma's immediate effects. Just as the freezer slows down the decomposition of food, allowing it to remain fresh for longer, the salt in the freezer slows the manifestation of negative karmic seeds. This gives the individual more time to address and heal their karmic imbalances before they fully manifest into suffering. This practice can be particularly useful in times of spiritual crisis, when one feels overwhelmed by negative influences or karmic consequences. By freezing the salt, the practitioner is symbolically freezing the karmic process, giving themselves the opportunity to recalibrate their energy, meditate, and take steps toward purification without being overwhelmed by the forces of their past actions. It's important to note that the salt in the freezer is not a permanent solution, nor is it a way to escape karma. Buddhism teaches that no one can outrun their karma forever. However, the salt in the freezer method is a powerful tool for creating a temporary shield, a spiritual pause button, allowing you to catch your breath and realign your actions with your higher self. Energetic balance and the role of intention. While salt and freezing are powerful tools, their effectiveness ultimately depends on the practitioner's intention. In Buddhism, intention, or cetana, plays a crucial role in shaping karma. It is not just the action itself, but the intention behind the action that determines the karmic outcome. This principle extends to spiritual practices like the salt in the freezer method. The act of placing salt in the freezer is imbued with meaning, but without the proper intention, it may not yield the desired results. When you prepare the salt for this method, you must do so mindfully with a clear and focused intention. This is where meditation comes into play. Before placing the salt in the freezer, it's recommended to take a moment of quiet reflection. Clear your mind of distractions and focus on your intention, to protect yourself from negative energies, to block harmful influences, and to restore balance to your energy field. Visualize the salt as a pure white shield glowing with protective energy. See it absorbing and neutralizing the negativity around you, blocking out evil forces and malevolent intentions. As you place the salt in the freezer, visualize the cold energy crystallizing your protection, freezing any harmful energies in place, rendering them powerless. This process is not just a mechanical act, but a spiritual practice. It's a form of mindful meditation, a way of aligning your actions with your deeper spiritual goals. The freezer, in this context, becomes a sacred space, much like a Buddhist altar, where you direct your energy and intentions toward protection and purification. The role of ritual in modern Buddhist practice. The salt in the freezer method may seem like a modern twist on ancient spiritual practices, but it actually fits neatly into the broader context of Buddhist ritual. In Buddhism, rituals are not seen as superstitions or meaningless gestures. They are deliberate, symbolic actions that help practitioners connect with the deeper truths of the universe. By engaging in rituals like the salt in the freezer method, practitioners are reminded of the impermanence of all things, the transient nature of both suffering and joy. The cold, still environment of the freezer symbolizes the cessation of chaos, the quieting of the mind, and the slowing of karmic consequences. The salt, meanwhile, acts as a conduit for purification, a reminder that even the simplest substances can be imbued with spiritual power. This method also encourages practitioners to take an active role in their own spiritual protection. In Buddhism, personal responsibility is a key theme. One must actively work to cultivate positive karma, purify the mind, and protect oneself from harmful influences. The salt in the freezer method is one way to take charge of your spiritual well-being, using simple everyday objects as powerful tools for transformation. The science behind salt and cold, bridging the spiritual and the physical. While the salt in the freezer method is deeply rooted in Buddhist tradition and spiritual symbolism, it's fascinating to explore how modern science can intersect with these ancient practices. There's often a divide between the mystical and the scientific, but in this case, the two can complement each other. Understanding the physical properties of salt and cold can shed new light on why this method is so powerful, even on a practical level. The purifying power of salt, a scientific perspective. Salt's purifying abilities are not just symbolic, they are grounded in its chemical properties. Salt, or sodium chloride, has been used for thousands of years as a natural preservative and purifier. It works by drawing out moisture through a process called osmosis, which inhibits the growth of bacteria, fungi, and other microorganisms. In ancient times, people used salt to preserve food, keeping it from spoiling by preventing the growth of harmful organisms. This same concept applies metaphorically to the spiritual realm. Salt is believed to draw out negative energies, preventing them from festering and causing harm. The hygroscopic nature of salt, meaning it absorbs water from its surroundings, also plays a role in its spiritual application. Moisture in the air often carries impurities, including pollutants and toxins, which salt can trap and neutralize. This is why salt is sometimes used in air purifiers or salt lamps. It can help cleanse the environment by pulling in and neutralizing negative particles. Spiritually, the salt in the freezer method works similarly. It absorbs negative energy from the environment, much like it absorbs moisture, neutralizing it before it can affect you. When salt is placed in a freezer, the cold environment enhances its ability to hold and contain these energies. Cold temperatures slow down the movement of molecules, meaning that any negative energy absorbed by the salt is essentially frozen in place, unable to circulate or cause harm. The freezing process also symbolizes stillness and purification, halting the chaos of negative vibrations and keeping them in a state of suspended animation. The science of cold, how freezing inhibits chaos. The freezer, as a tool in this method, also has its own scientific and spiritual significance. Freezing temperatures drastically slow down the activity of molecules and particles. In practical terms, this means that bacteria, viruses, and other harmful organisms cannot thrive in extremely cold environments. Cold halts their ability to multiply and spread. From a symbolic perspective, cold does the same to negative energies. It halts their progress, making it harder for them to affect your life. Scientifically, the freezer is a space of preservation and stillness. It stops the natural process of decay by slowing down molecular motion. In the context of spiritual practice, the freezer represents the cessation of negative vibrations, suspending harmful energies in place. Coldness, in many spiritual traditions, is also associated with purity and clarity, qualities that align with the Buddhist goal of achieving a pure mind and spirit. When you place salt in the freezer, you're creating a double-layered defense. First, the salt absorbs negative energy, much like it absorbs moisture. Then, the freezing temperature halts the movement of this energy, locking it in place so it cannot continue to affect your surroundings. The combination of salt and cold creates an almost impenetrable barrier against malevolent forces, making it an incredibly effective method of spiritual protection. The balance between science and spirituality. While science explains the physical processes at play, the spiritual significance of this method cannot be overlooked. The act of placing salt in the freezer is as much about intention as it is about the properties of salt and cold. It's a ritual, one that serves as a reminder of the interconnectedness of the physical and spiritual worlds. In Buddhism, everything is energy, whether it's the energy of your thoughts, your actions, or the environment around you. Salt and cold, in this method, serve as tools to balance that energy, to protect against negative forces that seek to disrupt your inner peace. For the modern practitioner, understanding both the spiritual and scientific aspects of this method can deepen your connection to the ritual. It's not just about blocking evil or witchcraft, it's about aligning yourself with the natural forces of purification and stillness. The salt in the freezer becomes a bridge between two worlds, the tangible physical world that we can see and measure, and the intangible spiritual world that we can only feel and experience. In a sense, this practice encapsulates the Buddhist teaching of the middle way, a path that avoids extremes and embraces balance. The salt in the freezer method is a perfect example of how you can balance the scientific with the spiritual, the physical with the metaphysical. It's a simple act, yet it carries profound meaning and significance, rooted in both the physical laws of nature and the spiritual laws of karma and energy. By understanding the science behind this method, you can see how the natural world supports and enhances your spiritual practice. The salt in the freezer is more than just a symbol. It's a functional, energetic tool that works on multiple levels to protect, purify, and balance your life. And in this balance lies the key to spiritual peace and protection, reminding us that even the simplest elements of the physical world can hold great power when used with mindful intention. Rituals and meditation, unlocking the full power of the salt in the freezer method. While understanding the scientific and spiritual underpinnings of the salt in the freezer method is important, the true power of this practice lies in the rituals and meditations that accompany it. In Buddhism, as in many spiritual traditions, rituals are not just symbolic acts. They are sacred gestures that open doorways between the physical and spiritual realms. To fully unlock the potential of this method, one must approach it with the right mindset, clarity of intention, and dedication to the practice. The role of ritual in Buddhist practices. Buddhism emphasizes mindfulness and intention in every action, and the salt in the freezer method is no different. For this method to work effectively, the process of preparation and placement must be treated as a ritual, imbued with purpose and spiritual focus. Rituals in Buddhism are not just about performing tasks. They are about creating a sacred space where transformation can occur. This is why meditation, chanting, and focused intention are often paired with these types of spiritual practices. To begin, it's essential to create an environment that supports the energy you're trying to cultivate. Find a quiet space where you can perform the ritual without distractions. This space should feel calm and peaceful, free of clutter and negative energy. You may want to light candles or burn incense to purify the space, a common practice in Buddhist rituals. The scent of sandalwood or sage, for instance, is believed to cleanse the environment and invite positive energy. Once your space is prepared, take a few moments to center yourself through meditation. In Buddhist tradition, meditation is the foundation for all spiritual work. It calms the mind, bringing you into the present moment, and allows you to focus your energy with clarity and intention. Sit in a comfortable position, close your eyes, and focus on your breath. As you inhale, imagine yourself breathing in pure, protective energy. As you exhale, imagine releasing any negative thoughts, emotions, or energy that may be lingering within you, setting your intention. As with any spiritual practice, intention is key. In Buddhism, the intention behind an action is just as important as the action itself, as it determines the karmic consequences. Before placing the salt in the freezer, you must first set a clear intention for what you wish to achieve. This can be protection from negative energy, the neutralization of harmful spells or witchcraft, or the purification of your spiritual environment. It's crucial to verbalize this intention, either silently in your mind or out loud. Many Buddhist practitioners use mantras or prayerful affirmations to help focus their intentions. For instance, you might say something like, "May this salt serve as a barrier of protection, absorbing all negative energy and purifying my space." Alternatively, you can use a traditional Buddhist mantra such as the Om Mani Padme Hum, which is believed to invoke the protective energy of compassion and wisdom. As you say these words, hold the salt in your hands, imbuing it with your focused intention. Visualize the salt glowing with a pure white light, representing its power to absorb negativity and create a protective shield around you. Feel the energy flowing from your hands into the salt, charging it with your intention and connecting it to the spiritual energy you wish to cultivate. The freezer as a sacred space. Now, when you place the salt in the freezer, you must do so mindfully, with the same focus and intention that guided your preparation. Treat the freezer as a sacred space, much like an altar, where your intentions are sealed and protected. In Buddhist rituals, altars are not just physical objects. They are energetic portals that connect the practitioner to higher realms of consciousness. In this case, the freezer becomes an altar of protection, where the cold immobilizes negative energy and prevents it from spreading. As you open the freezer door, visualize it as a gateway between the physical and spiritual worlds. Place the salt inside with reverence, as if placing an offering on a sacred altar. You may wish to say a final prayer or affirmation, sealing your intention and calling upon protective forces to guard your energy. You might say something like, "I place this salt here as a shield against all harm, freezing negative energies in their tracks. May my spirit remain pure and protected." Close the freezer door gently, imagining it sealing in the energy, trapping any negativity within the cold and rendering it powerless. From this moment forward, trust that the salt is working on your behalf, absorbing and freezing the negative energies that have been directed toward you. Regular maintenance and meditation. Like any spiritual practice, the salt in the freezer method requires regular attention and maintenance. Over time, the salt may become saturated with the negative energy it absorbs, and its effectiveness can diminish. This is why it's essential to periodically replace the salt to ensure that it continues to work as a potent barrier of protection. How often you replace the salt depends on your intuition and the intensity of the negative energy you feel in your environment. Some practitioners recommend doing this once a month, while others may do it more frequently during times of heightened spiritual attack. Each time you replace the salt, repeat the same meditation and ritual process, treating it as an ongoing practice of protection and purification. By doing so, you're not only maintaining the physical and energetic power of the salt, but also reinforcing your own spiritual focus and intention. The act of returning to this ritual on a regular basis deepens your connection to the practice, making it more effective over time. Additionally, it's helpful to pair this ritual with regular meditation sessions. In Buddhism, meditation is seen as a way to purify the mind and body, removing internal obstacles to spiritual progress. By meditating regularly, you enhance your ability to cultivate positive energy and repel negativity, making the salt in the freezer method even more effective. Through meditation, you align your mind with the principles of compassion, wisdom, and protection, creating a powerful inner shield that works in harmony with the external shield created by the salt. Integrating the salt in the freezer method into daily life and spiritual practice. Now that we've explored the symbolism, science, and ritual of the salt in the freezer method, the final step is integrating this powerful technique into your daily spiritual practice. In Buddhism, as well as in other spiritual traditions, protection from negative forces is not just a one-time event, but a continual process of mindfulness, purification, and balance. The salt in the freezer method is a potent tool, but its true power comes from using it regularly and in conjunction with other spiritual practices that align your mind, body, and spirit. Bringing mindfulness into the practice. At its core, the salt in the freezer method is a practice in mindfulness. Mindfulness in the Buddhist tradition is about being fully present in each moment and aware of the energies surrounding you. The very act of placing salt in the freezer, done with intention, reverence, and focus, becomes a form of meditation itself. It reminds you to remain vigilant in your spiritual hygiene, paying attention to the subtle influences of energy in your life. Incorporating mindfulness into this practice means regularly checking in with your surroundings and your internal state. Do you feel a buildup of negative energy in your home? Are there people or situations in your life that seem to drain you? By staying attuned to these shifts, you can use the salt in the freezer method proactively rather than reactively. Instead of waiting for negative energy to overwhelm you, you can neutralize it as soon as you detect its presence. You can also practice mindfulness by expanding your awareness beyond your immediate environment. Pay attention to the thoughts and emotions you're carrying throughout the day. Just as salt in the freezer absorbs negative energy from your surroundings, meditation and mindfulness can help you absorb or dissolve negativity from within. Consider using moments of stress or conflict as opportunities to pause, center yourself, and release negative feelings before they take root. Creating a routine of spiritual cleansing. To fully integrate the salt in the freezer method into your life, it's important to create a consistent routine of spiritual cleansing. Just as you clean your home regularly to keep it free from dirt and clutter, your spiritual environment needs the same level of care and maintenance. This is especially true if you feel you are under spiritual attack or regularly encounter negative forces in your personal or professional life. A good starting point is to designate a specific time each month, or more frequently, depending on your needs, for spiritual cleansing. You can align this with the lunar cycle, as many spiritual traditions believe that the phases of the moon influence energy flow. For instance, the full moon is often seen as a time of heightened energy, making it an ideal time to cleanse and protect your space. On these designated days, perform the salt in the freezer ritual with the same level of intention and mindfulness each time. Beyond the freezer ritual itself, consider incorporating other cleansing practices into your routine. In Buddhism, the practice of metta, loving-kindness meditation, is a powerful way to counteract negative energy with positive vibrations. By regularly sending out thoughts of compassion and loving-kindness to yourself and others, you strengthen your energetic field, making it more difficult for harmful forces to penetrate. You can also use tools like sage smudging, crystal cleansing, or sound therapy, such as Tibetan singing bowls, to purify your space further. Balancing the inner and outer worlds. One of the core teachings of Buddhism is the interconnectedness of all things. The salt in the freezer method, while focused on creating an external shield against negativity, also serves as a reminder that true spiritual protection comes from within. No matter how many rituals you perform or how much salt you place in your freezer, if your inner world is in chaos, it will be difficult to maintain balance and peace in your outer world. This is where meditation and self-reflection play a critical role. Regular meditation, especially practices like vipassana, insight meditation, can help you identify and release internal blockages, limiting beliefs, and unresolved emotions that may be attracting negative energy into your life. It's important to remember that we often mirror the energy we encounter. If you're holding on to anger, fear, or resentment, you may unconsciously invite more of the same into your space. In addition to meditation, journaling can be a helpful tool for processing emotions and tracking your spiritual progress. As you integrate the salt in the freezer method into your routine, keep a journal of your experiences. Write about the shifts you notice in your energy and environment after performing the ritual. Reflect on any internal changes you experience, such as increased clarity, peace, or protection. Over time, this journaling practice will help you deepen your understanding of the method's impact on both your inner and outer worlds. Trusting in the process and letting go. One of the most important aspects of any spiritual practice is trust. The salt in the freezer method is not a quick fix or magic bullet. It's a tool that works in conjunction with your intentions, your actions, and your faith in the process. After performing the ritual, it's crucial to let go of any attachment to specific outcomes. Trust that the salt is doing its work, even if you can't immediately see or feel the effects. In Buddhism, letting go of attachment is a central teaching. We are taught to release our need for control and to trust in the flow of life. The salt in the freezer method is a practice in this teaching. Once you place the salt in the freezer and set your intention, let it be. Don't constantly check on it or worry about whether it's working. Trust that you have done your part, and allow the natural forces of purification and protection to unfold in their own time. Ultimately, the salt in the freezer method is a powerful reminder that spiritual protection is a balance between action and surrender. By regularly performing this ritual with mindfulness, intention, and trust, you create a shield of protection that is not just physical, but deeply rooted in your spiritual practice. This method, simple yet profound, becomes a way to align with the deeper energies of the universe, protecting your spirit from harm and allowing you to walk your path with confidence and peace. Conclusion: the timeless power of salt in the freezer. In Buddhist practice, the salt in the freezer method stands as a profound example of how simple, natural elements, when combined with spiritual intention, can provide powerful protection from negative forces. Rooted in Buddhist tradition, this method serves as a bridge between the physical and spiritual realms, a tool that transcends its simplicity to offer tangible protection and energetic balance. By mindfully engaging in this practice, we are reminded of the deep wisdom found in ancient teachings, which guide us in navigating the unseen forces that shape our lives. Whether you're seeking to block harmful energies, neutralize spiritual attacks, or simply cleanse your environment of negativity, this method offers an accessible yet profound solution. Beyond the practical act of freezing salt, this ritual also encourages us to cultivate inner mindfulness, trust in the process, and integrate spiritual cleansing into our daily routines. It serves as a powerful reminder that true protection begins with intention, clarity of mind, and a heart centered in compassion. As you incorporate the salt in the freezer method into your spiritual practice, remember that it is not just the act of placing salt in a cold space that matters, but the focus, mindfulness, and trust you bring to it. By aligning your inner and outer worlds through this method, you cultivate a shield of protection that is both physical and deeply spiritual. If you found this topic insightful or helpful, please consider subscribing to our channel, Buddha's Way. We're committed to bringing you more spiritually enriching content, drawing from timeless wisdom and practical methods that can elevate your spiritual journey. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Till next time, namaste.